Well, the format of this video is going to be radically different because ChatGPT is trying to create my videos with a random generator for subjects and talking points and titles. It is really strange to feel like ChatGPT is finally in my corner when it comes to content creation because I've been locked into the same type of content for a long time. And now that I'm seeing all this other stuff, because ChatGPT learns from you, right? It understands the way that you think, it gives you ideas ahead of time, but the algorithm has other ideas. The algorithms consider how the heck do we pay you less while you generate daily content. That's what the algorithm wants to do. It either wants chaos, and that's what it wants from you. It wants unpredictability. It wants content that is not the same, saying the same general stuff. It just wants you to say it in a different way every single day. With that said, you guys are going to be watching video of me at South Mountain in the background, which has nothing to do with this video, of course, but again, it's chaos. The algorithm loves it when you come out here and you just throw it out of right field and it's just like, whoa, where did that come from? Because then it can label it as new. And with that said, I wanted to talk a little bit about what someone said in the comments. I think it was Michelle who said that she liked going hiking, but when there's a lot of people out there on the trails, like there's going to be a lot of people out there on Thanksgiving Day and on the day after Thanksgiving and this weekend, because that's what people do after they eat too much. And let me assure you, you probably shouldn't wander that far away from a toilet. Wink, wink. Anyhow, today I was hiking and I've been outdoors my entire adult life. It wasn't until the past, I don't know, I remember I spent all my 20s mountain biking at South Mountain. It was a daily trip up the national trail up to the parking lot and then back down. It's about 8 mile round trip to the top. I remember having a lot of fun, but I didn't have the financial obligation that I did. I was in college, I was part of the mountain biking club at the university. So I just I just learned to just do stuff. It's just like you wanted to go fishing, you went fishing. You wanted to go to the park and walk around, you did it. Now we have to work 7 days a week. And it's not any joke. And you can see in the faces. And that's something that I noticed today is that no one says hello to you anymore on the trails. People walk past each other. We ghost each other on the trails because we don't want to notice other people. And it's very evident that when you walk around out there, we're all living with some sort of anxiety in our chest, thinking that we're out there, but in our mind, we're still prisoners of the wage cage. And while I was trying not to think about life, I was trying not to think about money the whole time. It's that reoccurring thought, right? I'm out here doing this. I could be at home making YouTube content, hoping that something someday will finally take off and I can do this as a full time job rather than being a person who's never going to make a living wage as long as I live. But with that said, let's get into our very quirky comments that ChatGPT created for me today. They're just plain strange. So let's get to our prompt. Dating eligibility has been automatically declined due to insufficient financial stability. You may reapply when your salary meets the minimum threshold for human affection. That, in a sense, means that based on your financial situation and having instability throughout your entire life, you are expected to go without human affection. You're expected to live out your 60 years of work looking at someone and knowing full well that they can see that your bank account is empty. Could you imagine if people could look at us and know how much money we have? Well, spoiler alert, most people can. Especially when you walk around in a gym and you're looking around at what people are wearing. I mean, there's a few cartoon characters at my current gym that never change their clothes. And I'm not saying that their clothes are dirty. I'm just saying that they either are buying the exact same outfit for years at a time, or they're broke. And I think it's the latter. I mean, there are people that have been wearing the same sneakers to the gym for years at a time. When you look at them, you don't see a person that's financially sound. You see a person who's in the gym trying to do something for themselves to increase the likelihood of someone noticing them. But it's just not it's just not possible. We constantly judge each other. When you walk in the parking lot, especially at my apartment complex, and every car is 20 plus years old, your clothes are old, your sneakers are dirty, your clothes look worn out, even you yourself. Most people don't take the time to keep themselves up. They don't keep up their nails, their hair, their skin, their bodies. And it's not because they don't want to. Simply put, they just don't have the time or resources. So if you've been declined for human companionship based on your credit rating, it's not out of the ordinary. They keep telling us that they want people having more children, but at the same time, they're suffocating us. The oxygen that we need to breathe through financial resources isn't coming. And so you start turning purple, start turning blue, eventually you turn green, and that's when you just lay down in the fetal position and acknowledge the fact that you will spend the rest of your life without another person because you just never made it there. Your tiny above minimum wage paycheck isn't going to cover what another person needs. They need a house, they need a person who has money in their savings account, a person who's basically not eating ramen every day, like myself. All right, let's go up to our second cue up here. You may experience sudden waves of loneliness. This is normal and indicates that the separation protocol is functioning as intended. The separation protocol is very real. In this country, we've lost those third spaces. People don't talk to each other at work anymore. People don't talk to each other in grocery stores. Making eye contact in a gym with another person should be punishable by being whipped out in the parking lot because you're not supposed to do that anymore. The separation protocol that defines human existence, at least in our present society, is fully functional and it is brutal because humans are social creatures and loneliness is something that should be avoided. I deal with loneliness by just not thinking about it. Every day I wake up and I don't think about my phone not ringing. I don't think about not getting one personal phone call. I don't think about the fact that I haven't talked to another person since Friday. It doesn't matter. Because if you let loneliness take over your life, it can get really ugly. This is where severe problems with substances come into play. Because humans are burdened by this need to not be separated artificially. But the powers that be definitely understand that a separated proletariat is one that is much easier to influence. You just give them a little Netflix, you give them a little Pro Ball, you give them a little of what they need, but not what they want. And that's what life has become. We all get what we need, we don't get what we want. And at the end of the day, you close your eyes and you pretend you go into your dreams hoping that you will find what you want in there. The last few nights, I've had dreams of really, really strange women that seem to be like characters in my regular life, but I could never identify them. They never have a face, they never have a name. It's just your mind trying to come to terms with the isolation, with the separation protocols. And you wonder, why would you create such a diabolical society? It's simply put, it's easier this way than to deal with the true problems in our society. No one wants to think about the homeless problem or wage stagnation or the fact that the 99% would prefer not to work. They would prefer to sit at home, not do anything, and just pursue the life that they were intended to pursue. One in which you can work one day, 1 hour a week, and still get a full time paycheck. And the rest of the time, well, you do whatever you want. If you want to sit at home scratching yourself, or looking at things that you shouldn't be looking at when you're supposed to be reading the Bible, well, you should be allowed to do that. There shouldn't be this overwhelming force that makes you become a robot. But the separation protocol is there in order to make certain that you never get to feel human, that you're always on the verge of not knowing what to do. At night, when I ask myself today, I had no idea what I was going to do today. Normally, I have a very strict way that I conduct things so that I don't get lonely, so I don't experience loneliness, in which I force myself just not to think about it. I go through my day this morning. You wake up, you go to your first place, you come home, you do something at home, then you leave your house, you go somewhere else, then you come back home, and then at the end of the day, you drink a bunch of cold ones so you don't have to remember where you are or what happened to you. I try not to remember what happened yesterday. Today was truly an amazing day in the sense that I went to the park, I walked around. I got to see things I'd never seen before. If you told me that I would someday see running water at South Mountain, I would have given you the middle finger. Because even the section on National Trail that's called the Waterfall, which is a big like hangout for mountain bikers, I've never seen water there. It's just called that because more people bite it in that section probably than any other place. It's one of the most dangerous places on the entire trail. If you can go up and down the the waterfall at South Mountain on your bike without having to get off, you're a good mountain biker. If you can't, well, you might end up biting it there because it is dangerous as hell. Anyhow, let's move on to our third prompt. We regret to inform you that working full time is no longer considered a viable method of survival. You are expected to secure additional income streams or develop a tolerance for hunger. We've all come to that conclusion. You didn't need me to tell you that. You were well aware that full time work has lost its capacity to feed the average person, let alone a single mom with a bunch of kids. This is the reality of life in our present society. Additional income streams is what I'm doing right now because I have to do this. This isn't something that I want to do. This is part of my monthly income. This is what feeds me in week 4 of every single month. So I generate enough income through my job to make it to 3 weeks. But that fourth week, I've run out of money almost every single month for the past few years. Every single month, like clockwork. Because there are certain bills that get paid on the first, and then you pay your middle of the month bills. Then you have that little section of the month where even ramen can get expensive. And that would be this week. It's the week in which you have the least amount of resources and you're going to depend on that second or third income in order to get you to your next paycheck. And learning to live, to tolerate hunger is going to be a necessary human evolutionary adaptation for tens of millions of people that are out there because we live in a world where there is no understanding, there's no pity, there's no sympathy, there's just cold, hard corporate entities that exist out there that they fully aware of what it costs to enjoy life because they pay themselves like that. The CEO of Boeing doubled his millions of dollars that they gave him from last year to this year. Why? Because they know how to pay themselves. They know what it's like to have those enormous paychecks and what you're doing to scrape by from paycheck to paycheck. To them, you're almost like a cockroach that has to exist in their world. You're a cockroach that somehow they've managed to put a harness on and use you to generate their very own salaries. So at the end of the day, you're a human cockroach and you don't have a place in their world. You have a place where they tell you you can live, the car you can drive, and what you can do for work. Because everyone works to the highest aptitude that they have. And whether or not you have an education or not, if you're stuck as a waitress or you're stuck cleaning houses and you have a master's degree in something, well, it's either the opportunity there or you're just working to your level. And as something that I've heard on the channel, is that water reaches its own level when it comes to your aptitude in society, regardless of your education. Because I've met a lot of really educated people that if they weren't in that job as a professor, they would be working at Walmart because they can't do anything else. I mean, that's why I spent so many years of my life going to university. I didn't want to be here talking on YouTube with French fries voiceovers. I was expecting to be teaching at the university, not just one subject, but a variety of different things. But here I am, poor, angry, short, ugly, miserable. That's who I became. And not because I wanted to, but because at some point you have to develop a threshold for hunger for life. Not just not being able to eat every day of the month, but a true feeling of hunger because you don't have access to leisure or financial security. You're just out there in the urban jungle, no different than that homeless girl I saw a couple of weekends ago in her expedition gear as a homeless person. So, how do I want to end this video? Is there hope? Maybe. Have a lot of people lost that hope? I would say yes. I think that a lot of those people out there who used to tell themselves magic fairy tales about how eventually this would change, that your circumstances would change to those of a more equitable society, that you would have the items that you need. You wouldn't be afraid of healthcare. You wouldn't be afraid of housing. You wouldn't be afraid of normal things. You wouldn't be afraid of living your life. But we've lost hope. And it's not like we ever really had it. It's just that we kept it in the back of our mind that if we just pushed one more day, that tomorrow might be better. But the sad thing is that in this holiday season in the year 2025, when we look back at this year, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years from now, it's going to feel a lot like the way that people look back at the Great Depression. Thousands, if not millions, of people standing in food lines waiting for a box of rotten food while working full time. This is the America we have right now. And it's the America that should chill you to the bone and make you want to go crawl under a rock. And remember, when you're under that rock, you can eat ramen raw.